Okay, so hey everyone. So if you're a person named Ryuzaki, you already know what this video is about. If you're a person who came here from my resume, you already know what this video is about. And if you are none of these people, person, whatever, then you can just check the description to understand the context of this video. So basically in this video, I had to do this little task or project or whatever you want to call it, like create an NGINX infrastructure where NGINX is like a load balancer and reverse proxy, and configure that NGINX server with appropriate security headers, rate limiting access controls to protect against common web application vulnerabilities. Also get proper logging and monitoring on the server. So this is the thing that I had to do, and here's the thing that I did. I'll just give you a walkthrough of how I did it and what I did, and it is all for documentation and learning purposes. So yeah, let's just get started with it. So this is the infrastructure that I came up with in my head, and a little disclaimer before starting that I had no idea about all these things before doing this task/project, because this is my way of learning. I don't like the traditional way of learning where I go through playlists of videos, like 10 to 20 videos, and then working on something. I just like to learn on the go. In the end, I did end up watching a lot of videos to understand what are security headers, what are rate limiting, access controls, high availability, high scalability, what are common web application vulnerabilities, and understanding all these things. But this is just my way of learning, doing things. That is what I like to do. So I came up with this infrastructure. I know it looks pretty basic, but I literally spent 2-3 days banging my head on the screen to come up with the infrastructure. I made a lot of different sorts of infrastructure before deciding on this one. So I created an infrastructure which had this infrastructure in one AZ or availability zone, and this same infrastructure copied into another availability zone, then having a main NGINX server in front of both these infrastructure, which will be proxying requests to these infrastructures. This one that I have drawn here, this one, and it will be kind of an active passive infrastructure. So if one goes down, I already have another one. But what was bugging me was that I will having a main NGINX server, and that will be my single point of failure, which will be pretty bad, because if that main NGINX server will go down, this whole infrastructure would just fail, even though I have all the machines ready to work, and so that didn't make sense. So at the end, after 2-3 days or 3 days exactly, I just settled on this infrastructure. So this is what I did to make it highly available. I was a little confused between what is highly scalable and available. I understand they are interrelated, but this is what I settled on for this. Yes, I made this on Canva. So this is the infrastructure, and right now if I just copy this NGINX IP address and send an HTTP request, I will be redirected to a backend server. So this is what it is. And also to make it I'm connected. Also to make it highly scalable, I am using IP hash algorithm, IP hash load balancing algorithm. Now what it is, let me just show you. NGINX and then install. But rather than that, let's just buy or go onto the VM. Sorry. So this is what it is. This is how my configuration file looks like right now. So okay, what was I about to show you is this is where I have just wrote the name of the algorithm. So what IP hash okay, so what IP hash algorithm does is that for example, let's talk in basic terms. So if let's say I'm a user and I sent a request, very first request, to this NGINX server, and it proxied this request, let's say, to backend server 1, right? So IP hash algorithm tracks the user's IP or client's IP and makes sure that all the following requests from this specific IP goes to backend server 1. So there are minimum latency issues. So that is also a good thing to make the infrastructure highly available. So that is what it is. And to make this NGINX server act as a reverse proxy, what you need to do is just set up a cluster, upstream cluster. Like I have a backend cluster. So cluster is basically like this block where I can define my server's IP, or if you have subdomains or domain names, you can define them over here, host names, whatever, right? And on the location part, you need to just do this inside the server block, like listening on the 80 port and the NGINX server's IP, and then telling like you need to proxy to this cluster. So yeah, that is it. Here's like a rough idea I generated from the chat GPT before starting on the task. So this is the infrastructure part, what I did for the infrastructure part. Now let's go on to like proper logging and monitoring. So I was pretty confused on what to do with this part, proper logging and monitoring, because NGINX itself doesn't have that meaningful logs. Because if you would have seen my screen a while ago, then you could see, let me just show you in var log NGINX access.log. So by default, NGINX just has two logs, I think, just access.log and error.log. So access.log just gives what IPs are requesting or trying to access this NGINX server. So this is a nice log to check out, but I was not sure like how can I monitor this, and it was not even making sense to monitor it. So after a while I decided on to monitor backend servers, but since it's not like a fully fledged application working on something, solving some task or doing some processes, so there was like nothing to monitor. So for the monitoring part, I just went with default monitoring that AWS provides, like CPU utilization, status check and everything. So this is there, and I just did not make any changes to that. I just like settled with these monitoring and these logging. So after that comes the configuration part of the NGINX to protect against common web application vulnerabilities. So for appropriate security headers, what you can do is, what I did is just like copy the IP address of the NGINX server, and to check if the security headers are implemented or configured on your NGINX server, you can just write the address over here and scan your server. So you can see like these headers are properly configured. I got an A rating, which is nice, awesome. I can even show you my NGINX file to see where I have configured them. So you have to just write these headers in your server block. Just write the what headers you want on your server. So basically these will protect you against common web vulnerabilities, or in layman terms you can say common skates attack. So okay, I didn't need to exit out of it. So security headers is done, logging and monitoring is done, highly availability is also done. Also I've shown you like load balancing and reverse proxy, how it is working. Now two last thing remains, rate limiting and access control. Right now I have commented these configurations because I did not wanted any issue while recording this video. Maybe I've been rate limited while showing my own server, or my IP changed and I cannot access my server anymore. So for access control, what I have done is that let me insert into this vim. So for access control, I have denied all the IP except for my IP. So currently this is not what my IP is. I need to change it. What is my IP? I need IPv4 for address. Just checking. Okay, this is what my IP is. This is actually what the IP was when we were checking our access.log file. I hope was this IP. It shouldn't have changed. So what I need to do is I just need to tell my configuration file that hey, allow this particular IP and deny all other IPs, so my NGINX server can receive requests from this specific IP only. So now if I just clear this, let me just check the configuration file, syntax is okay, everything is fine. Let me just restart the server, service, NGINX, restart. Okay. Now I just need to check my IP and I'm able to access this server, which should happen. But what if I connect to a VPN and then see what happens? I shouldn't be able to access this server. Okay, I'm connected to a VPN. Currently, this is what my IP is. Now, if I go on to here, okay, I'm able to access it. This shouldn't have happened. Maybe because of the cookies. Okay, now I'm not able to access it and I've been denied. Also, this is also a vulnerability that it is displaying what OS I am on and what NGINX server I am on. This should not be displayed. It just occurred to me. I'll fix it later on probably. And yeah, with the probability thing, I just remembered one more thing. AWS provides 750 hours every month for free, and I have used like 90% of those while figuring out the infrastructure. I made a lot of servers in this availability zone and other availability zone trying to come up with an infrastructure. So all in all, I have just like left with 60 to 70 hours only for this month, and it's like only 18. It's fine, okay, whatever. It was all just for learning purpose, so it's fine. So okay, access control is also checked. Now we will check the last thing, that is rate limiting. So if I just go on to my file, and in my file I have commented these lines. So what I've done is I have allowed 10 requests per minute. Like you can just send only 10 requests per minute, and after that you will be rate limited to access the server. So okay, this is done. I've defined that and I just need to use it over here. So what no delay here means is that whenever request comes in that is rate limited, rather than accepting that request into a memory queue or whatever. Like here I have a 10 I think it's a 10 MB of space for my request. If a request comes in, just throw a 503 error, and like it's 503 is a bad request error. I'm not sure. We'll just see right now what it is, and not just accept the request and just throw error straight up. So that is what no delay would be doing. So I've removed the comments. Let me just check again. Okay, I'll remove the comment, and now my server should be rate limited. Let me just service restart NGINX. Okay, my bad. Service NGINX restart. I'm sorry. Okay, so NGINX server is restarted. Now we're going to access it, and I think I should be able to access it 10 times. After that, I should get an error. I could get even before that. Maybe by restarting the server, some requests were made onto it from the AWS side. I don't know. So let's just access it. Okay, I'm still on the VPN. I need to disconnect. Now I'm not sure if this request would have been counted or not, but let's see. Okay, that is like one first request. I'm already rate limited. Okay, first request, second request, third request, fourth request, fifth request, sixth, seventh. Okay, so what I'm understanding is, okay, my rate limiting is not properly configured. I think what has happened, it worked when I checked before recording this video. Okay, so now I've understood the issue with the rate limiting. Just gave this a read again. Pretty nice blog or whatever by Amir Robert. So what was happening with rate limiting was, if we go into my configuration file, okay, if we go into my configuration file, here I have defined that there should be 10 requests per minute. So what does this mean? This means that I can make 10 requests in 60 seconds. And what does that mean? That means is that I can make only one request per 60 seconds. So per 6 seconds. So if I go over here and I like reload this page, it works fine. But if I reload now again, I get a 503 error because I did not wait it for second request. I did not wait for 6 seconds to make another request. But if I reload it again, it's fine. Now if I wait for 6 seconds, like 1 2 3 4 5 6, I've been talking for a while, and now if I reload the page, I will not get this error. In order to fix this, I can introduce a buffer, like a burst, something sort of parameter, like this burst 20 requests. So you can set like 20 requests in a burst, and the NGINX server will store those requests. So it also says over here, like a request that arrives sooner than 100 ms after the previous one is put into a queue, and here we are setting queue size to 20. You can set it to whatever you want, but if your requests are coming in a burst like I was doing, reloading the page again and again to check the rate limit, I was getting an error, which is how it should work, right? So it was working as it should. I was assuming it in a different way. I think while checking, I was running a script through my terminal, and I had set some sort of time limit to check it. So based on that, I think that's why I did not got an error for the first 10 requests while I was checking through my terminal with the script. So yeah, it is working as it should. There's no problem in it, so I don't need to fix it. Also, what I can do is I can add a burst parameter, so it can like queue the request if a burst comes in. But I think this sort of functioning is fine, and if I have an application, I would like to have this sort of functionality on my application. So this is done. Security headers are done, rate limiting is done, and access control is also done. I just showed you by switching over to a VPN. I already talked about load balancing and reverse proxy and high availability, talked about logging and monitoring. So this is what this little task or project was, and I learned a lot during this, and yeah, that was it. And if you want to like go through this debrief I have made for myself, I'll just link it in the description. You can refer to it if you are doing something similar. And yeah, that's it.